So today's vlog is going to be about my first experience dating a guy. And essentially, we can probably sum this video up to just say trash. But I'm not going to do that. Because I want to give y'all a little bit more background. So, when I was in my undergrad, completing my first degree, I was like super involved. Like, I was super involved. So everything I posted was about the university. I was a cheerleader, orientation leader, tour guide, like all that. And one day I get a DM on Twitter from this boy that was initially saying that he was interested in the university. And so I'm like, okay, he was looking a little hood ratish. So I'm like, okay, yeah, he gonna need a lot of help. Because I know people from where I'm coming from gonna need a whole bunch of help too. Because I needed a whole bunch of help. And so I gave him my number so we can like text and talk about it if he had any questions. And this boy initially started calling me every single day. And when I mean calling me every day, like every day, twice a day, whatever. So I'm like, why does he call me every day? Maybe he just need a friend or something. So, I was in that place where like, I'm just talking to him, whatever. And one day he told me he liked me. And so it took me a while to process it because I never had actually like had romantic feelings for another person, like as far as another guy. And at this point, besides like my best friend, and he was the person I was talking to every single day, so we started talking about like our families, our history, whatever. And for him to tell me that he liked me, I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, if I like him back, does that mean I'm gay? And back where I came from, there weren't a lot of gay men. There were only about 2 that I can remember. Now there's like a whole bunch. But back then, it was only like 2 that I can remember. And the association with being gay, to me, in the mindset of where I came from, is wanting to be a girl. And I don't want to be a girl. Apparently, I've been gay for like 5 years. I'm still not a girl. But it's no shade to anybody going through a transition, but that just is not what I wanted to do. And, I didn't know anything about being gay, like the first thing. And so, but I realized that I actually did like this boy too. And so I told him, and we like talked for a whole like 5 months. And I'm not going to sit up here and say I didn't learn a lot from him, and he didn't like help me through a lot, because he helped me through that first transition of like accepting myself. And so actually he's the one that kind of encouraged me to tell like the first person, which was my best friend technically. And so actually one day she had called me, and she, I feel like she's super over dramatic. She probably won't say that she is, but like she had called me, and like she was dancing around, like asking me, because I hadn't talked to her about who I was dating, and like it was like 2-3 months at this point. And she was like dancing around. You can tell when somebody really want to ask you something, especially when they want to ask you if you're gay. And so she was essentially doing that, but she didn't want to like straight out and ask me. But she was like, I feel like it's something you're not telling me, and all this other stuff. And her being as dramatic as she is, she started crying. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, you would think that I would feel like, this would be like a loving moment, a little sad moment. And in my head, I'm like, this girl is super dramatic. Like, that's all I'm thinking. I was like, let me tell her so she could stop crying and get over this. And so I told her, and, it was what it was. And honestly, we've been super close. We were already super close then, and it really didn't change much for the most part. But back to the other person I was dating. So, he had encouraged me to do that. And I think what I really liked about him is he reminded me of where I came from, because he was a hood rat. He was like if you looked at him, you couldn't tell that he was gay. And like that's essentially like how I wanted to be perceived for the most part. Not that I care what anybody think of me when they saw me, but I didn't want to be a girl. So I oh, it's somebody else that probably has the same mindset as me. Um, and like I said, he was a hood rat. He looked like a blue-nosed pit bull. Um, and that should have been my first warning that he looked like a dog, because he definitely was a dog. And so eventually we started talking for 5 months, and then we broke. Well, we weren't like dating for real. We weren't boyfriends, but we stopped talking because he didn't really want no relationship, or at least that's what I thought. And so 2 weeks after we broke up, this boy started posting a boyfriend. Like, so he had a boyfriend. So he was talking to me and somebody else at the same time. And so, I was a little heartbroken. That's when I first got introduced to, Tony Braxton. So, I was listening to my Tony Braxton and Unbreak My Heart. Like, damn, this kind of hurt. Like, I ain't never had my heart broken by no boy. Like, I've been heartbroken up a girl. So this is my first experience. It's like my first heartbreak, technically. And, eventually him and the boy broke up. And, once you get something as good as all this, you're going to always want to come back. So he essentially, came back, and I've let him in, unfortunately. This, love struck. And this boy had even went to jail, y'all. I was literally like Yvette off of Baby Boy, and he was joking. Like, he literally went to jail, and first of all, sidebar, jail calls cost a lot. And I was a broke college student, so I don't even really know how I was paying for them calls, but we would talk every day, and for that 15 minutes, it was $10.10. And so eventually, like, I'm on social media, and I was born at night, but not last night. So, I do my little checkups. So I was checking on the boy that he had gotten a relationship with. Something the Lord told me, let me go on his page, Chris. And so I went on his page, and like, when you get a call from jail, they can only call you. So when you get a call from jail, it be sometimes different numbers. And you don't, of course, save a jail number, because, it's going to be a different number when you call. So this boy posted a thread to basically talking about, in code, like, he's been talking to this boy for so long. So, like, I'm like, dang, I'm calling him, he calling me. He calling me, and he calling this other boy. He talking to more people than I'm talking to, and I'm free. So, I stopped talking to him then. I would say break up, but we wasn't together. But you know how when you be talking to somebody and y'all stop talking, you gotta cuss them out, and then you stop talking, and then y'all break up, but y'all not really broken up, but y'all not talking no more. That's how it was. And then, so at that point, I was like over it. I had finally got me a new boyfriend. Eventually on down the line, but I literally went from like dating girls to becoming Yvette. And so that was my first time experiencing the guy. And this boy, like I said, once you get something as good as this, you're going to always come back. So he hit me up every 2 to 3 months, checking in. But at this point, I went from like a regular college student going for a bachelor's to like a master's level individual. So, and I'm not in Detroit anymore. Like, I've elevated my life. So, I'm not in that place anymore, but it's definitely like one of the, you look back on it and you can't do nothing but laugh, and be thankful for it. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this story. It's technically my first real story, because the last one was giving y'all advice. But stay tuned.